Uh-uh. What's that? I got you.
All right, I'll see you in a minute.
Shalom, Voss. Shalom. Shalom, family. Shalom, brother Yaakov. How you doing? You in the fam, huh? How things going with you and the fam? Shalom, brother Don Israel. Shalom, huh? Shalom, shalom, sister. Shalom. Hope brothers and sisters had a great Sabbath yesterday. Shalom, sister Janah. How you doing, sis? Yeah, shalom, shalom. Going into the same thing, sis. Shalom, brother Azariah. Shalom, huh? Shalom, Black King Transportation. Shalom, huh? Yeah, you know I heard about that. I'm gonna tell y'all that stuff been going on. Cause to a degree, like shit, you can say the same thing about Highland Park here. They just not deliberately saying that. But a lot of times, shoot, that's what these HOAs was made for, to kind of keep certain people out of those areas. You know what I'm saying? So it ain't nothing new. They can have it, because the Bible teaches separation anyway. The more that they separate from us, too, the better off we will be as a nation of people, man. So just like the scripture says, Shalom, Shalom, low key 1430, Shalom. Shalom. All praise, sister, all praise. Brother Yaakov said, do you know the precept for this will be our last regeneration? Heard Naquan bring it out. Class saying this is the last time we will. Now, I don't know. He might be using that one. I have to see it. I didn't catch that class, so I have to see that precept. Only one that I could think of is one in Matthew's saying that it was talking about this last generation. But yeah, I had to see it. I didn't see that video. Shalom, Shalom, Imagine Israel. Shalom, Shalom, Sister Mary Houston and family. House of Brother Daniel. Shalom, family. Battle Axe Houston. Yeah, that's what we're here for. You can put it in the chat out. Just getting set up. Yeah, you can put it up in the chat. First off, giving all honor and praises to the Most High and to his son Yahushua. It's Captain Benaniah with the Battle Axes of the Most High coming to you with another Sabbath smoke class titled Who Are the Children of God? Sunday smoke Q&A. We say brothers and sisters can put the questions, put comments, while we cover scriptures, because we hear this. I hear this a lot coming up, especially on TikTok, especially on social media, where everybody said that they're a child of the Most High. Like the Bible in itself doesn't describe or tell you who the children of God is. You hear it with the sons of God, talking about the angels. Then you hear with the sons of God, when they want to talk about Nephilim. It's a lot of topics that goes up under that one title. So I know we'll kind of touch on that a little bit while we're answering questions. I know Sister said in 1 Samuel chapter 6, verse 11, how were the Philistines able to touch the ark and not die? So remember, the Most High God, they took the ark But when they had it in their possession, remember, the Most High God was having the ark jack they behinds up, though, sis. Now, you're meaning in that first initial touch. Let's touch on that real quick. Let's go to 1 Samuel chapter 6, verse 11 real quick. So, yeah, remember, 1 Samuel chapter 6 is with them returning the ark. But when you read over in chapter 4, verse 10, it shows you how they did capture the ark. The Most High God was using that for a purpose. So I want to start. First, let's read what you asked. This is the book of 1 Samuel chapter 6 and verse 10, and it reads, "And the man did so and took two milch kine and tied them to the cart and shut up their calves at home. And they laid the ark of the Lord upon the cart, and the coffer with the mice of gold, and the images of their emeralds. And the kine took the straight way to the way of Bet Shemesh, and went along the highway, lowering as they went, and turned not aside to the right hand or to the left. And the lords of the Philistines went after them unto the border of Bet Shemesh." This is what you want. 6 and verse 11. Okay. So we see during this time, let's start up. So when we read in the book of 1 Samuel, chapter 4, we see we were at war with the Philistines. A lot of times, brothers and sisters need to kind of read over this history to understand why things played out the way that they did. I'm going to start at verse 1. This is the book of 1 Samuel, chapter 4, verse 1. "And the word of Samuel came to all Israel. Now Israel went out against the Philistines to battle and pitched beside Eben's Ezer. And the Philistines pitched in Alphek. And the Philistines put themselves in array against Israel. And when they joined battle, Israel was smitten before the Philistines. And they slew of the army in the field about 4,000 men." So we see where we were at war with the Philistines, and they slew about 4,000. Jumping down to verse 3. "And when the people were come to the camp, the elders of Israel said, Wherefore hath the Lord smitten us today before the Philistines?" So we see the Most High God gave up many Israelites into the hand of the Philistines. He had the Philistines overtake us. It says, "Let us fetch the ark of the covenant of the Lord out of Shiloh unto us, that when it cometh among us, it may save us out of the hand of our enemies." So we was trying to take the ark of the covenant. Remember, a lot of times we try to use these things, but to depend on, but we have to remember that we have to depend on the one true power, which is the Most High, that gives power to the ark of the covenant. We can never forget the source on where our power come from. And a lot of times our people lose sight of those things, like they did in this instance. Verse 4. "So when the people sent to Shiloh, they might bring form this, the ark of the covenant of the Lord of hosts, which dwelleth between the cherubims. And the two sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas, were there with the ark of the covenant of God. And when the ark of the covenant of the Lord came into the camp, all Israel shouted with a great shout, so that the earth rang again." So we see we're getting crunk because we have the ark of the covenant with us. Let's jump. Let me keep reading. "And when the Philistines heard the noise of the shout, they said, What meaneth the noise of this great shout in the camp of the Hebrews? And they understood that the ark of the Lord was coming to the camp. And the Philistines were afraid, for they said, God is coming to the camp. And they said, Woe unto us, for there had not been such a thing here therefore, Salakia. Heretofore, Salakia. Woe unto us! Who shall deliver us out of the hand of these mighty gods? These are the gods that smote the Egyptians with all the plagues in the wilderness." And that's another precept for gods, showing you that Israelites are gods, meaning we're the judges of the earth. So the Philistines were afraid when the Israelites came with the Ark of the Covenant. Verse 9, be strong and quit yourselves like men, O ye Philistines, that ye be not servants unto the Hebrews, if they have been to you. Quit yourselves like men and fight. So they was trying to stir each other up, fighting against the Israelites. Verse 10, where it goes into the Philistines capturing the ark. Verse 10, and the Philistines fought, and Israel was smitten, and they fled every man into his tent. And there was a very great slaughter, for there fell of Israel 30,000 footmen. So even with the ark, we see that, guess what? The Most High God still gave us up into the hands of the Philistines. Verse 11, and the ark of God was taken, and the two sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas, were slain. Verse 12, and there ran a man of Benjamin out of the army, and came to Shiloh the same day with his clothes rent, and with the earth upon his head. And when he came, lo, Eli sat upon the seat by the wayside, watching for his heart, trembled for the ark of God. And when the man came into the city and told it, all the city cried out. When Eli heard the noise of the crying, he said, what meaneth the noise of this tumult? And the man came in hastily and told Eli. Now Eli was 98 years old, and his eyes were dim, that he could not see. And the man said unto Eli, I am that. Salakia, I am he that came out of the army, and I fled today out of the army. And he said, what is this thou done, my son? And the messenger answered and said, Israel is fled before the Philistines, and there had been a great slaughter among the people. And thy two sons also, Hophni and Phinehas, are dead, and the ark of God is taken. So even when we're reading this, we seeing how during this time Israel was still had wickedness up in us, even though we were still fresh as a nation of people. The Most High God always delivered up the other nations into our hands, or us into their hands, because of the wickedness that we did. So initially, the Most High God allowed the Ark of the Covenant to be taken because of the wickedness that we did as a people. Let me jump down. Verse 5. I'm going to start down at 1 Samuel chapter 4, verse 21, kind of hit on the points, kind of giving y'all the backstory, but I want to hit on the main points to sister's question. 1 Samuel chapter 4, verse 21. And she named the child Ichabod, saying, the glory is departed from Israel, because the ark of God was taken, and because of her father-in-law and her husband-in-law. So we see that the Most High God's spirit had departed from Israel because of our wickedness. Verse 22, and she said, the glory is departed from Israel, for the ark of God is destroyed. So we see where the Most High God does these things when we fall basically to sin. Chapter 5 and verse 1. And the Philistines took the ark of God and brought it from Abin Ebenezer unto Ashdod. When the Philistines took the ark of God, they brought it into the house of Dagon and set it by Dagon. So we also see where they took the ark of the covenant and they set it by their god, Dagon. Verse 3. And when they of Ashdod arose on the morrow, behold, Dagon was fallen upon his face to the earth before the ark of the Lord. And they took Dagon and set him in his place again. So we see how the Most High God had the angels come down there and push that statue over, because no idols can stand with the power of the Most High. Remember, this is going into what? All the idols of all the gods of the nations are idols. Let's get that in the book of Psalms. 92. Bear with me right quick. Somebody put that in there. Let's see real quick. Bear with me right quick. Let me type it in. Bear with me. I said 95. It's 96 and 5. This is the book of Psalms, chapter 96, verse 5. And it reads, "For all the gods of the nations are idols, but the Lord made the heavens." So we see that these gods that these other nations have, they are idols. So we cannot set up the ark. They cannot set up the ark of the covenant by none of these gods. And ultimately, we see the Most High God was doing this as a judgment to be brought back upon the Philistines as well, to basically kill off their gods. So we have to understand the Most High God operates on manifold terms, meaning he's always judging Israel for the wickedness that they do, but he always judges the other nations as well, letting them know that it's really only one true God. This is the book of 1 Samuel chapter 5 and verse 3. "And when they of Ashdod arose early on the morrow, behold, Dagon was fallen upon his face to the earth before the ark of the Lord. And they took Dagon and set him in his place again. And when they arose on the morrow, behold, Dagon was fallen upon his face to the ground before the ark of the Lord. And the head of Dagon and both the palms of his hands were cut off upon the threshold. Only the stump of Dagon was left to him." So we see what the Most High God was judging, ultimately turning this judgment back upon the Philistines. Let's go to chapter 6 and verse 1. This is going into how they had to return the ark. "And the ark of the Lord was in the country of the Philistines 7 months." So the Most High God allowed this to happen over a 7-month span. It says, "And the Philistines called the 4 priests and the diviners, saying, What shall we do to the ark of the Lord? Tell us wherewith we shall send it to his place. And they said, If we send it away, the ark of God of Israel." Salaki. "And they said, If ye send away the ark of the God of Israel, send it not empty, but in any wise return him a trespass offering. Then ye shall be healed, and it shall be known to you why his hands is not removed from you." So ultimately, we see the Most High God bringing a judgment upon the Philistines to guess what? To let them know that it's only one true God. And ultimately, we see that these things will manifest to correct Israel and also to do what? To judge the Philistines. So that's why they were allowed to do those things, sis. This is a good read. That I ain't gonna lie. That's a great, great question. I know we good class to kind of go into. It's a great class to kind of go into. I know Brother Imagine Israel said, "Who are the ravens that fed Elijah in 1 Kings chapter 17? Well, those ravens were actually ravens. Those were actually birds. Remember, the animals are subject to the power of the Most High. We see in instances where he opened the mouth of the donkey and to Balaam, so remember, that's within the power of the Most High. He controls all these things, the animals. All these things are made subject to the Most High. It's the book of 1 Kings chapter 17. Book of 1 Kings chapter 17 and verse 4 is going into Elijah's prophecy. The book of 1 Kings chapter 17 verse 4. "And it shall be that thou shalt drink of the brook, and I have commanded the ravens to feed thee there." So he went and did according unto the word of the Lord. For he went and dwelt by the brook Cherith, that is before Jordan. So we see in this instance where Elijah was on the run from Ahab, from the prophets of Jezebel, because they was trying to seek Elijah's life, meaning kill him. So the Most High God had him hide prophets. They was also trying to kill the prophets of the Most High. and he had Elijah hiding the prophets, and the Most High God was feeding them. That's why we never have to worry about these things if we hold up our end of the bargain. I know a lot of times we telling brothers and sisters to stockpile food. Now that's using wisdom, but remember, we can't put our stock in just that food. We don't do that. We ultimately put our trust in the Most High. That's the point. You don't put your stock in carnal things. You have to put your stock only in the Most High fully. Let me read it again. Jump down to verse 6. And the ravens brought him bread and flesh in the morning, and bread and flesh in the evening, and he drank of the brook. And it came to pass after a while that the brook dried up, because there had been no rain in the land. Going into that prophecy where he was going to stop it from raining for a number of years. Let's get a precept showing how the Most High God's, the animal spirits are subjects to the Most High. This is the book of Sirach, chapter 39. So yes, those were actual ravens. This is the book of Sirach, chapter 39, and verse 28. There be spirits that are created for vengeance, which in their fury lay on sore strokes. In the time of destruction they pour out their force, and appease the wrath of him that made them. Fire and hail, famine and death, all these were created for vengeance. Teeth of wild beasts and scorpions, serpents and the sword, punishing the wicked to destruction. So we see on one aspect the Most High God uses animals as weapons, but he also on another aspect can use animals to do what? To help brothers and sisters, to help and to heal. I hope brothers and sisters understand this. It says, they shall rejoice in his commandment, and they shall be ready upon earth when need is. And when their time is come, they shall not transgress his words. So we see in one aspect where the Most High God controls the animals. They are at his beck and call. Let me get that one in Genesis. Because we know at a certain time, the animals was filled with the spirit of the Most High. Let's go to the book of Genesis, chapter 7 and verse 15. Book of Genesis, chapter 7. Because we have to think, how do we think that the Most High God, how did Noah get all the animals on the ark that he needed? They was filled with the breath of life, meaning they are at God's beck and call. This is the book of Genesis, chapter 7 and verse, I'm going to start at verse 14, and it reads, they and every beast after his kind, and all the cattle after their kind, every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth after his kind, and every fowl after his kind, every bird of every sort. Verse 15 is the point. And they went in unto Noah into the ark, two and two of all flesh, wherein is the breath of life. Meaning the Most High God put the breath of life even in the animals. To do what? To obey his will. What is the breath of life? His laws, statutes, and commandments. How do we think that the lions were not able to eat the lambs, or the wolf not able to eat the cow? You know, the animals are at the beck and call of the Most High. Let's get another one more. Let's go to the book of Numbers. Let's go to the book of Numbers, chapter. Bear with me. And I'll be flipping from book to book, man. Bear with me. Numbers chapter 22 and verse 28. Numbers 22 and verse 28. And I had it right here. Hate that. This is the book of Numbers, chapter 22 and verse 28. And it reads, "And the Lord opened the mouth of the ass, and she said unto Balaam, What have I done unto thee, that thou hast smitten me these 3 times?" So we see Balaam was hidden and smoten the donkey. And the Most High God opened the mouth of the ass because the ass didn't want to go forward because he sensed the presence of the angel that was about to kill Balaam. So he was hitting the donkey and he hit him 3 times. So the Most High God put his spirit in that donkey and opened his mouth and asked him, "Why are you hitting me? Hey, I can see certain things that you can't." And we see this a number of times where the Most High God can work through anything. It's a light thing that the Most High God uses animals or anything at his disposal to guess what? To get a point across. So yes, we see in many accounts where the Most High God does those things. You understand that? Imagine, was you thinking that it was a similitude? Remember, everything in the Bible is not a similitude. Certain things are literal in the Bible. Certain things does have symbolic or metaphoric meaning behind it, but certain things are literal. So is that what you was thinking, Brother Magin? Voss, I have a question. What's the best way to become a spiritual eunuch? And what happens if you're a physical eunuch and spiritual eunuch? Remember, a spiritual eunuch, meaning you're just going to abstain from flesh on your own, meaning from dealing with women to do the work of the Lord. I mean, the best way to become a spiritual eunuch is just by doing the work of the Lord. Remember, Christ was about his Father's business. So he didn't have time to partake in women or to get a wife. Christ didn't have time for that, because his job was solely for the business of the Lord. Let's go to the book of Luke. This is the book of Luke, chapter 2 and verse 48. This is when Christ, during the Passover, ran off and he was in the temple with the elders, discussing the scriptures. This is the book of Luke, chapter 2 and verse 48, and it reads, "And when they saw him, they were amazed. And his mother said unto him, Son, why hast thou thus dealt with us? Behold, thy father and I have sought thee sorrow. And he said unto them, How is this that ye have sought me? Was ye not that I must be about my Father's business?" So if brothers and sisters or brothers trying to be a spiritual eunuch, you have to be about the business of the Most High, meaning the Most High business should always come first, but that's the only business that you are, guess what, concerned with. Yes, brothers and sisters do have to work to provide a life for you, but guess what? You still putting the business of the Most High guys first, meaning you're not dealing with women. Christ didn't have any kids, so his business was solely for the work of the Most High. That's one of the best ways, to get your mind ready to do the work of the Most High. I'm gonna read it again. I have a question. What is the best way to become a spiritual unit? And what happens if you're a physical unit and a spiritual unit at the same time? So remember, it's really physical eunuch and spiritual eunuch. Remember that physical eunuch is a man whose private parts are cut off. The spiritual side is that you have agreed within yourself that you're not going to deal with women. So remember, a physical eunuch had no choice not to deal with women because they had no private parts. Do you understand that, Voss? No, I totally understand, sis. Like you said, Uzziah died for trying to keep the ark from falling. So we see in that instance where the Most High God did what? Gave them straight commandments that no one could touch the ark but the Levitical priests. So he went against the judgments of the Most High. That's why Uzziah was killed in that specific point. You understand that, sis? But remember, overall, that story going into the Philistines, first of all, the Most High God was judging the Israelites for their sins. So he literally had them take it. He was judging Israel for their sins and putting stock into the Ark of the Covenant and not their faith in the Most High. So remember, when you're going through that story or through that point, it's a lot of things that you have to take in mind, sis. It's a lot of things. He was judging Israel. They was putting their faith in the Ark of the Covenant and not in the Most High. And then he also allowed the Philistines to get it to do what? To kill off their gods. You have to take all that into consideration. You understand that, sister? Shalom, shalom, Judah, shalom, shalom, Abraham, shalom, shalom, Sister Antoinette. How you doing, sis? It says, what's genealogy is, Matt? Luke 3. Yes, remember Luke 3 and Matthew's chapter 1. Yeah, they're going into the same thing. Matthew's just going backwards and Luke is going forward. It's just going the right way, but it's going into the same thing. Yes, it's going into the same thing, which are the sons of God. So Salakia, Luke is going backwards, but Matthew is going the correct way. It says through the Spirit that's showing you he made their God. Yeah, Khan. That's another way of looking at it too, Khan. Shalom, Brother Shalom. Shalom, Brother Shalom. He didn't, the Most High only judge Israel. I thought no, sis, he judges among the nations. God can judge the other nations and he's judging the other nations. He don't just judge Israel, sis. You know, he judges the other nations as well. He can judge you singularly or as a nation. What's that one in Job? Book of Job, chapter, let me find it. Bear with me. So no, sis, he can judge Israel. God judges the earth, period. This is the book of Job, chapter 34 and verse 29, and it reads, when he give it quietness, who then can make trouble? Let's see, bear with me. The book of Job, chapter 34 and verse 29. Book of Job, chapter 34, verse 29, and it reads, when he give it quietness, who then can make trouble? And when he hideth his face, who then can behold him? Whether it be done against a nation or against a man only. So the Most High God has the right to judge any nation or anybody at any time, sis. Any nation or any time at the matter. No, Brother Judah put the precept up in going into it early. There be gods many. Going into that Psalms chapter 96 and verse 5. Great precept that brothers and sisters can use. You understand that, Sister Janai? It says, I know all the fowls of the mountains and the wild beasts of the field are mine. Great precept. Even going into how he's going to have those same birds do what? Clean up the planet Earth after World War III. You know, so it's many ways that the Most High God does that. Brother Magic said, was this the coming of Elijah before Yahweh Shah comes back, or is life? Yes, this talking about in these last days. That Malachi chapter 4, verse 5 is talking about these last days to warn us. That's exactly what that's talking about. This is the book of Malachi chapter 4 and verse 5, and it reads, behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord. Because remember, when Elijah was walking the earth, he walked the earth many, many years before Christ was on the scene. Then he was regenerated as John the Baptist. But then that spirit is going to be sent back again in these last days to wake us up. So many brothers may think that they know who it is, but remember, the Bible tells us that there is no remembrance of former things. So we know maybe sometime after slavery, Most High God, when he started to put that spirit back upon us during the time of the 50s, during the time of the 60s, you know, somewhere within that time where we started to recover and remember who we were as a nation of people. So yes, that's going into these last days. This is the book of Malachi, chapter 4, verse 5. And it reads, behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord. And he shall turn the heart of the fathers to the children, meaning he was going to teach us to turn back to the Most High and to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Elijah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel. And he shall turn the heart of the fathers to the children, and the heart of the children to the fathers, lest I come and smite the earth with a curse. So yes, that's talking about in these last days. King James of Judah, Shalom, 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 Brother Nehemiah, how you doing? Shalom, Shalom, Jonah, Shalom, Officer Barakiah. Shalom to brothers and sisters tuning in, man. Shalom, Bill Karma. Numbers chapter 21, verse 6, and the Lord sent fiery serpents among great precept. I sent fiery serpents among the people, and they bit the people of Israel. People and many people of Israel died. Salaki, great precepts. Like I say, Job chapter 12, verse 7, ask the beast of the field, and they shall teach thee. You know, great precepts that Bruce putting in there to home in the point to Brother Imagine Israel's question. Shalom, Brother Black. Shalom, Shalom, sis. Genesis, how you doing, sis? It says, there's one part I'm confused with. Can you be both spiritual and physically? And I agree. Yeah, you can. I mean, you can. But the point is, I'll put it there to keep it simple. Yes, you can. You know, yes, you can. Brother Blacks, one understanding, Matthews 10, 32, 133. So yeah, to keep it simple, Vosh, yes, you can. Come. Shalom, Brother Moses, the messenger, Battle Axis West Coast. I know I was trying to call you the other day too, to check up on you. I know you probably was busy, Sister Antoinette said, what is the difference between a man of a eunuch spirit and a man choosing to be abstinent to move forward? Where in your questioning, like you say, you have one that decided that he's not going to deal with women. He made that personal choice. Another eunuch is a person that was he was forced to be a eunuch when they cut off his private parts. They didn't have no say in the matter, like Daniel, Mishael, the three holy children. They were made or forced to be eunuchs. You know, just like James Washington Carver, he was forced to be a eunuch, for brothers and sisters that don't know about that. You know what I'm saying? So that's the difference. Let's get that precept. Brothers and sisters should know that. I know we kind of cover that a lot. Let's go to the book of Matthew, chapter 19. Brothers and sisters should know that precept by now. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 19 and verse 11. And it reads, but he said unto them, all men cannot receive this saying, save they to whom it is given. Verse 12, for there are some eunuchs which were so born from their mother's womb. So you have Christ going into different types of eunuchs. So one eunuch is a brother that was born a eunuch, meaning he was born having his genitals not working. Let me say it again. The first eunuch is a eunuch that was born a eunuch, that his genitals born not working. Let's keep reading. For there are some eunuchs which were so born from their mother's womb, and there are some eunuchs which were made eunuchs of men. Now you have another type of eunuch which was made a eunuch by men, meaning he had a man cut off his private parts. Namely, when they're trying to get him to be over the harem, meaning a king's women. Normally, the man was over the king's women, and he had to have his private parts cut off so that it would make sure that he wouldn't sleep with the king's many wives. Why is that? Because remember, a king could have had up to 1,000 wives, like we see our forefather Solomon had. Solomon can't get to all them women, so them women gonna be trying to seek out and get other pleasures some other way. So to cover that, the king would have those men's private parts cut off so that they could not sleep with his wives. So this is the other eunuch that was made a eunuch by men's hands. Let's keep reading. And there are eunuchs which have made themselves eunuch for the kingdom or heaven's sakes. This is going into Paul. Paul was made a eunuch because he was so busy doing the work. Christ was made a eunuch because he was so busy doing the work. Meaning what? They didn't have time to have a wife. They didn't have time for it. You understand that, sis? Let me know if y'all don't, so we can kind of better explain it. No, it's not a sin to break a fast. It's not a sin. Sister Genesis asks, is it a sin to break a fast? No. Only time it's a sin to break a fast is going into the Day of Atonement, because that's the law. We don't see in the law, where it is even a law to fast. Oh, Mario, it says the guy Jesus was a Muslim. Yeah, y'all can say that. How can Christ be a Muslim when the Quran was written 600 and some years after Christ? That makes absolutely no sense. It says, why did all you camps betray the one West camps and make your own? Remember, no scripture, no law in the Bible, or Mario, says that we're all going to be one camp. There's no scripture in the Bible. Remember, all camps are going to gather together when the Most High God send back Christ. So that's incorrect. Remember, the Most High God did that. He splintered the group so he can do what? Cover more ground and be able to bring more brothers and sisters into this truth. It have always been different sects of Israelites. Sadducees, the scribes, you had Pharisees, you had the Sakari, you had the Essenes. It was always many different sects of Israelites. Always. Sister says, how do you study to show yourself approved? How do you study to memorize and to be able to teach your children? Like we do anything else, sis. Practice make perfect. So you have to periodically keep going over these things. It's just like with anything. Like I play basketball, and to be good at basketball, I practice every day. So it's the same thing, sis. You practice going over the scriptures, you watch street teaching videos, you watch classroom videos, and you build yourself up, sis. Let's go to the book. Go to the classic 2nd Ezra chapter 14. Classic precept on strengthening your memory. This is the book of 2nd Ezra chapter 14 and verse 40. This is when the Most High God was opening up the understanding to Ezra and put on his spirit to rewrite the books that was destroyed during the Babylonian captivity. This is the book of 2nd Ezra chapter 14 chapter 14 and verse 40. And it reads, and I took it and drank. And when I had drunk of it, my heart uttered understanding, and wisdom grew in my breast, for my spirit strengthened my memory. So your memory becomes strengthened by your spirit, sis. That's predicated on how strong you build up your spirit. And how do you spiritually build up your spirit? By tuning into the word, reading on a day-to-day basis. That helps build your memory. You know, when I first came into the truth, me and my wife, I would have my wife do flashcards with me. You know, hey, what is love according to the Bible? 1 John chapter 5, verse 3. Give me another love precept, John chapter 14, verse 15. What is the truth? Psalms 119, verse 142. So with anything, sis, like we say, studying to show yourself approved of the God, meaning you practice reading the Bible and guess what? Memorizing the Bible. You know, that's how you do these things. You instill discipline within yourself and you periodically go over these things. You know, just like you would do anything. The Bible is nothing new in that concept. It's nothing new. You know, you have to, if you want to be great at things, you have to practice it. You have to. And the more that you practice it, you see that the Most High God gives you and sups with you and gives you more and more understanding. Let's go to the book of Revelations, chapter 3. That's how you do it. Revelation chapter 3, verse 20. So you have to constantly sip with the Most High and His Son Yahushua. This is the book of Revelations chapter 3 and verse 20. And it reads, behold, I stand at the door and knock. And if any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come in to him and I will sup with him and he with me. Meaning you have to open up this Bible. Christ is that door, meaning what? To salvation. But you find that way to salvation by opening up the scriptures, reading, getting intimate with the Most High and His Son Yahushua, reading the law, reading the history of the kings, what they did, what the prophets did, and how they overcame certain sins that they dealt with. And once you start to sip with Christ, guess what? He's going to sip with you back. Now that's parabolic for, guess what? Giving you a better understanding of the scriptures, strengthening your memory. That's how you do those things and are able to obtain those. You understand that, sister? Brother Don Israel put in there, 2 Chronicles chapter 15, verse 5. And in those times there was no peace to him that went out, nor to him that came in, but great vexations were upon all the inhabitants of the country. And nation was destroyed of nation, and city of city, for God did vex them with all adversity. So we see where the Most High God judges the nations. Going back to that question that Sister Janah had. Great precept. Got Soldier E. Hood in the building. Come on now. Like you said, Brother Omarion, what you said makes no sense. Your page is 5 days old. I can help reset your page. Yeah, shalom, shalom, Sister Hannah. You and the fam. Shalom, shalom, family. Abraham says, so both Luke 3 and Matthew, same lineage, but different names. Let me see. Whether or not it's... So remember, Luke is going backwards. Is going backwards to forwards. Matthew is going forward. So when you go into the book of Luke, it's going more detailed. So like I like to do, we start at the book of Luke chapter 3 and verse 38. And it reads, which was the son of Enos, which was the son of Seth, which was the son of Adam, which was the son of God. So we see Adam had Seth, Seth had Enos, then we see Enos have Cain, then we see Mahalalel. This is literally going from the genealogy all the way from Adam. Now in the book of Matthews, the genealogy is starting from Abraham, going all the way down to Christ. Do you understand it? It's starting from Abraham. So even when you go back, let's go back to the book of Luke chapter 3, and we'll just start up from verse 34. And it's saying, which was the son of Jacob, which was the son of Isaac, which was the son of Abraham. So it's literally saying the same thing, but it's starting in different places. In the book of Luke, it's starting from Adam. But in the book of Matthews, Christ's lineage is just being said from Abraham. Do you understand it, Doc? Saying the same thing. You have Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. You have Judah, you have Perez, you have Ishram, you have Abinadab, you have Nason, you have Jesse, Nathan. Then when you go over to Matthews, you have what? The same thing. Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Judas, Perez, Zerah, Tamar, Perez, Ishram, and Aram, and Abinadab and Nason. So it's saying exactly the same thing. Do you understand that, Abraham? Brother Charlemagne said, if it don't work the same right. What you mean by that? You talking about with the eunuchs? That's a good question, sis. Sis asks, is it okay for sisters to pass out flyers? Now, we usually, you know why? It's a number of reasons why we do that. So we would say no, sis, because the thing is, a lot of times, and it depends on the situation. I'll put it to this way. So a lot of times when you're passing out flyers, sometimes what comes with that? A conversation. So a lot of times you have to use wisdom in that. Now, it's not to say that sisters can't let brothers and sisters know about the truth. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. You can always let brothers and sisters know about the truth. And guess what? Send them to your husband or give them the leader of those particular congregations that you are with. But a lot of times we say, no, we reserve that to the men because that always open the door for a sister to, guess what, try to go deeper in scripts, because sometimes people may have questions about those things. You know what I'm saying? So we would just keep sisters in, like, it's okay for y'all to tell brothers and sisters about the truth, especially when brothers and sisters are inquiring, hey, what are those things on your dress? You know, and so on and so forth. And you know, we know how conversations can spark up. But then immediately, if you see in the conversation want to take a turn for a deeper subject, you know, you point them to leadership, you know. So yeah, explain what you mean on that, Brother Charlemagne. Shalom Zakou Matah, Shalom, Shalom, Shalom got Captain Yar in the bin. He said, it's a sin, Deuteronomy 23:21. We're just talking about on the fasting. Let's see what it's talking about. To stop it or what? Let me see real quick. And when you see it as a vow unto the Most High, I mean, I could see that point, like you said, that Captain Yari put in that, but on the face value, you know, you can kind of lump it as a vow. and I can kind of see where Ak is going with that, so we do kind of want to tread that line lightly. If you are going to say that, you can take that as a vow. Zakar Mata said, Cap, I had rewatched over your last Sunday Q&A, and you had talked about dinosaurs, and I thought that they didn't exist, so I just wanted your knowledge on that. Well, yeah, when you read the book of Job, Brother Zakar Mata, the book of Job, chapter 41, talks about dinosaurs, and in the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 6, it talks about dinosaurs. The Bible calls them Behemoth and Leviathan. So when you go to the book of Job, when you go to the book of Job, chapter 41, you can see that what Job is describing the land dinosaurs and then the sea dinosaurs. This is the book of Job, chapter 40, and we'll start at verse 15. The book of Job, chapter 40 and verse 15. Now behold, Behemoth, which I have made with thee, he eateth grass as an ox. And when you look at Behemoth, this translates to basically dinosaur, a gigantic lizard. It says he eateth grass as an ox. So when you read the book of Job, chapter 40, verse 15 on down, this is Job describing one of the land dinosaurs, which is going into a brontosaurus. It says, now, Behemoth, which I have made with thee, he eateth grass as an ox. So we all know about the brontosaurus. It's basically a large herbivore, which eats grass. Let me pull this up real quick. So I'm going to read it again from the top. This is the book of Job, chapter 40 and verse 15. And it reads, behold, now Behemoth, which I have made with thee, he eateth grass as an ox. Lo, now his strength is in his loins, meaning this particular animal has large and powerful loins, meaning the midsection of his body. When you look, can brothers and sisters see in the chat? Is the picture big enough? You can see the midsection of the brontosaurus is very big. It says his strength is in his loins and his force is in the navel of his belly. Look at the mid size of his body. It's very big. It's very powerful. It says, these are the key points that you have to pay attention to, Zakar Mata. Verse 17, he moveth his tail like a cedar. Now, a cedar is a very large, long tree. No animal on the planet Earth has a tail like a cedar except for the brontosaurus or a large dinosaur. His tail is as the height of a cedar tree. And we know some of the redwood cedars in California are some of the largest trees. Some of the cedars in Lebanon are some of the tallest trees as well. So this is what the Bible is talking about when it's talking about dinosaurs. It's calling them Behemoth, and it's also calling them Leviathan. Let's keep reading. It says, he moveth his tail like a cedar. The sinews of his stones are wrapped together. It says, his bones are as strong pieces of brass. His bones are like bars of iron. Even when you look at this the exhibit in the museum, you see these things. We see that this is what killed, the flood is what killed the dinosaurs. You understand that as a komatar, just a little quick breakdown. So when you read the book of Job, chapter 40, and the book of Job, chapter 41, though that talks about dinosaurs. And it also talks about it in the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 6 as well. Abraham said Paul wasn't even with all camps. Christ wasn't with all the Jews either. That's why in Mark, he said, he that is not against us is for us. No name. It says, brother, my diabetes be taking me out. How do you deal with it and how? That's a good question. I'm going to tell you, I'm steady trying to get mine under control as well. I know Captain Yara do a great job of exercising daily, and I do too, as much as I can, because me and my son, we're always playing basketball. That's what I would say. I know my wife, she puts me on a, good diet, fruits, getting me to eat more and more vegetables. I'm going to tell you, one of the main things that you have to pray for, Ak, is discipline, though, Ak. But I'm going to tell you, between eating right and exercising, Ak, you should be able to get those things under control, because a lot of times these things just come from the things that we eat, Ak. That's why we suffer the way that we suffer, is because of the things in the diet that we have and the lack of discipline we have as a nation of people, Ak. Well, now since Voss said, what happens if you accidentally break a Sabbath? Well, remember, now we have grace. We have grace to be forgiven of those things. Let's go to the book of John. But in the past, guess what? You was put to death for those things, man. The Most High God didn't play no games. In these times, we got grace and mercy. This is the book of John. No, book of John. Let me see. I'm going to start here. This is the book of John, chapter 1, verse 29. The next day, John said, Yahushua coming unto him, and said, behold, the Lamb of God, which taketh away the sins of the world. So we know that Christ came to die for the sins of the world of Israel, to be able to do what? To give us grace and mercy. So we see one aspect of that. Let's jump up to verse 17. This is the book of John, chapter 1, verse 17. For the law was given by Moses, but grace and truth came by Yahushua Christ. So we see now that we have grace. So now, hey, you ask the Most High God to forgive you for breaking that Sabbath, and try your best not to break another Sabbath. But we have grace and truth. This is the book of Titus, chapter 2, verse 11. Grace is a time period to get yourself right. It's not a time period to keep going off. The book of Titus, chapter 2 and verse 11, and it reads, for the grace of God that bringeth salvation hath appeared to all men, teaching us, showing you that grace is supposed to teach you something. It's teaching you what? To keep the commandments of God. Grace teaches you, denying ungodliness and worldly lust, we shall live soberly, righteously, and godly in this present world. So if you fall at breaking a Sabbath, you want to pray to the Most High God to forgive you for breaking that Sabbath. And like I said, try your best not to break another Sabbath. Yeah, I'm going to tell you, no name. Yeah, you got to shake that drinking. There's nothing wrong with drinking moderately, like how it reads in the book of Sirach, chapter 31, but you have to be trying to discipline yourself. You got to have discipline. And that goes with that Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 1, verse 5, and various other precepts about discipline. But I'm going to read you this. This is the book of Sirach, chapter 31. Going into your etiquette when drinking. This is the book of Sirach, chapter 31, and verse 28. And it reads, wine, measurably drunk, and in season, bringeth gladness of the heart and cheerfulness of the mind. So it's nothing wrong with you having a drink from time to time. Brothers and sisters know how I get down, man. You know what I'm saying? Brothers and sisters know how I get down at the battle axe. But it's drunken in moderation and in season. Verse 29. But wine drunken with excess make it bitterness of the mind, with brawling and quarreling. Meaning if you drink too much, it can cause your mind to become bitter. That's where you can develop other disease, like sclerosis of the liver. Verse 30, drunkenness increaseth the rage of a fool till he offend. It diminishes strength and maketh wounds. So you want to make sure that you are drinking in moderation. I'm going to tell you, one of the things I can kind of see that you probably struggle with, no name, is a lack of discipline. That's where you have to get among brothers and sisters in a congregation, so where we can help you stay on track with those things. No name, do you have a congregation that you congregate with? Let me know in the chat. Psalms chapter 115, verse 12. The Lord had been mindful of us. He will bless us. He will bless the house of Israel. He will bless the house of Aaron. Great precept. Captain Yara put in there, yeah, we have grace, but grace is not a way to, guess what, to sin willfully, according to Hebrews chapter 10, verse 26. Great precept. It says he will bless them. Continuing on from Brother Don Israel, he will bless them that fear the Lord, both small and great. It says the Lord shall increase you more and more and your children. Yeah, that's right. And another thing that Captain Yara said, like you say, fast or great for diabetes to help generate blood sugars. That's right. Great point. Great point. Shalom, Sister Adiva. How you doing, sis? Smarter than most. Shalom. Smarter than most. Which is the truth, lunar Sabbath or Sabbaths to Sabbath? Well, out here at Battle Axis, I'm going to tell you, you have to do what bears witness with your spirit. But I don't think that brothers can get around Genesis chapter 1, verse 14. If the Most High God made the moon on the 4th day, and 3 days later, we still see him have a Sabbath of rest, showing you that the moon does not dictate the 7th-day Sabbath. Even like Captain Jerobal said, days come before weeks, weeks come before months. You have to have days before you have a month. So yes, we do 7-day Sabbath to Sabbath. But if it bears witness with your spirit, that's why you have to study. You have to give it a particular count, and you have to literally ask them these questions. And if they are able to break it down to where you can understand it, and you can get on one or the other page, that's what you have to do. But you have to make a decision, because the more that you don't, the more that you're not partaking in keeping God's laws. So we at Battle Axes, we keep the 7-day Sabbath from even to even. That is our stance here. Voss, it says, can you be righteous down to the point you can communicate with the Most High? Well, yeah. The thing is, the Most High God deals with us according to how we deal with him. So the Most High God does communicate. How does he communicate? Through prayer. This is the book of John chapter 9. Basic precepts. The book of John chapter 9 and verse 31. Classic precept we always go over. The book of John chapter 9 verse 31, and it reads, now we know that God heareth not sinners, but if any man be a worshiper of God and doeth his will, him he heareth. So God hears the prayers of sinners, and he answers your prayers, by you keeping the commandments. Now, you talking about like on what level? Like him sending an angel like Gabriel, Michael? Now, that's on a whole nother level. Remember, he was sending those angels to righteous men and righteous sisters. Remember, Christ fasted for 40 days. You see, Daniel fasted for 3 weeks. These were righteous men. You know what I'm saying? So that righteousness has to be on that particular type of level. But the Most High God does communicate with us through our prayers by answering them. Do brothers and sisters understand that? What it was? Psalm 66 and 18? Is that what? This is the book of Psalms, chapter 66 and verse 18. If I regard iniquity in mine heart, the Lord will not hear me. But verily God had heard me. He had attended to the voice of my prayer. So it's telling you plainly that guess what? God hears us when we are what? Being a worshiper of him and keeping his commandments. That's how the Most High God communicates with us. That's how Christ sups with us. No name, it says, man, out of one y'all, I don't know how to quit the liquor and it's destroying my eyes. I'm going to tell you, Ak, you have to apply discipline, Ak. You have to pray to the Most High God for discipline. There's no other way, Ak. You have to pray for discipline. And you can do it, Ak, because remember, man, 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 13, man. Let me get that right quick. This is a precept that you need to meditate on, no name. You got to meditate on this precept, Ak. You can't be giving up, man. You can't have that weak spirit. You can't be feeling sorry for yourself, Ak. You got to fight for the kingdom, Ak. You know, you got to fight, Ak. There's no way around it. This is the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 13. There had no temptation taking you. When it says no temptation, means many different temptations. Drunkenness falls up under temptation. Lust falls up under that category. He's telling us no temptation. I'm going to read it again. There had no temptation taken you, but such as is common to man. But God is faithful, who will not suffer you to be tempted above that ye are able, but will with the temptation also make a way to escape, that ye may be able to bear it. So when you're saying that you can't do it, the Most High God ain't going to put no more on you than you can't bear. You always have to keep precepts in your mind. And I'm going to tell you, a lot of times, brothers and sisters struggle with these things because you're not obtaining, and guess what, reading the precepts. You're not reading, you're not meditating on these things, because there's many answers in the scriptures to the things that we deal with on a day-to-day basis. That's why we always have these Q&As, so we can give brothers and sisters the weapons to equip themselves on how to overcome certain sins that they deal with. But you got to have faith in the Most High and His Son Yahushua, that if you hold up your part, God gonna hold up His part, man. You know, you got to have that discipline, Ak. You got to, man. The classic, man. You got to pray for that Holy Spirit of discipline, Ak. This is the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 1, verse 5. For the Holy Spirit of discipline will flee deceit and remove from thoughts that are without understanding, and will not abide when unrighteousness cometh in. So you got to pray for discipline, Ak. You got to pray for that discipline, man. So like your brothers. So let's go to the book of Sirach, chapter 18. Real quick. You have to get precepts on discipline, Ak. That's what we see you kind of struggling with. The book of Sirach, chapter 18. This is the book of Sirach, chapter 18 and verse number 14. And it reads, He had mercy on them that receive discipline. So the Most High God will have mercy on you, no name, if you start to have discipline. It says, and that diligently seek after his judgments. So you have to diligently seek after the judgments of the Most High. That is the only way. You have to pray for that discipline. That's the only way to be able to overcome those things. This is the book of Sirach, chapter 32, verse 14. Whoso feared the Lord will receive his discipline, and they that seek him early shall find favor. So I'm gonna tell you, you can do it, man, but you just gotta pray for that discipline. You got to, man. It's like Brother Zakamatar said, hey, no name, I deal with lust. I'm still getting over it, but you got to keep pushing. That's right. Captain Yara said you have to be around a body. That's right. Bruise that can attack your sins with Ecclesiastes chapter 4, verse 9. That's right. By helping help build the bruise up. Smarter than most says, which is truth, lunar Sabbath or Sabbath to Sabbath, and why? Thanks. So yeah, we see the truth as Sabbath to Sabbath, the 7-day Sabbath. That's what we see truth. Even like how I just explained, we see in the book of Genesis chapter 1, verse 16, where he created the moon on the 4th day. Brothers would have a point if God created the sun and the moon on the 1st day. Brothers would have a great point, but we don't see that point. Voss, it says, can you talk directly with the Most High God through a dream or no? I would say no, because the thing is, the more and more we live as a nation of people, we're so corrupted with sin, so our strength has diminished over the centuries. This is the book of 2nd Ezra chapter 4. This is the book of 2nd Ezra chapter, because we are less of stature. Let me see. Book of 2nd Ezra chapter 4. This is the book of 2nd Ezra chapter 5. Meaning we're weaker and weaker from us not diligently seeking after the Most High, for lack of better words. This is the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 5 and verse 52, and it reads, say unto her, wherefore are not they whom thou hast now brought forth like those that were before, but less of stature? Meaning we're still having children, but we are less in stature. Meaning what? We're not as tall as we used to be. We're not as strong as we used to be. Our connection with the Most High God is not as strong as it used to be. We dealt with the Most High God on a high level, but due to our sin nature, and now we just coming back into the truth, we have by a lot lost a lot of that strong connection that we have had with the Most High. So that's why I would say no. But remember, we still do have somewhat of a connection with the Most High. It's just not as strong as our forefathers had, like David, like Elijah. We still have power with the Most High, but it's not to that level like how we used to have. Shalom, Timothy B. How you doing, Doc? The commentator says, but I also have another question. Do women wear fringes at the end of their garments too, or is it just men? Yes, women wear fringes at the end of their dresses. And they can at the end of their shirts. Abraham put it in the chat, 2nd Ezra chapter 6, verse 49. Then thou didst ordain 2 living creatures, the one called as Enoch and the other Leviathan. So we see that these are the dinosaurs that the Most High God created, and it's expounding upon the book of Job. Sister Antoinette said, yes. We see Malak. I can't imagine living with those dudes around. What dudes? So I have another question. If we get to the kingdom in the holy city, will we still have to pray to the east or just pray in any direction? Well, yeah, we'll pray because we already be in the east. It says pray to the east because we're praying towards our homeland. So yeah, we just throw up our prayers to the Most High. Brother Nehemiah said beetroot that can help kind of control that diabetes. I know my wife was talking about that one time. She's, real big at certain fruits and vegetables, to help make the body healthy. It's that stone in my side, 31 years. Con, you got Brother Charlemagne. That's right. Ak is a diabetic too. Remember, we suffer of these things because of our sins. This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, and verse 64. And it reads 62, and it reads, Salakia 61. Also, every sickness and every plague which is not written in the book of this law, then will the Lord bring upon thee until thou beest destroyed. So remember, diabetes is not in the scriptures. We have to go through these things because of what? Our breaking the commandments, But the Most High God say what? No temptation. So he's giving us a way out, exercise, healthy diet, applying the commandments, prayer, fasting. Those are the weapons to be able to help you overcome certain health issues. So be it known, Abraham, be it known unto you, therefore, men and women, brother, that this man has preached the forgiveness of sins. Come, great precept from earlier. Bill comment. Is it only from the grapes and not other fermented drinks, or what? What do you mean? Talking about the Nazarite vow? Yeah, it should be no alcohol. Shalom, brother Mark. Or Roscoe. Sorry if I butchered your name. I get that last part. Shalom, how you been? So yeah, what are you talking about? The Nazarite vow, no wine, no strong drinks. Brother Blacks. What is grace? Shalom, I need scripture. So that's what we went over, the book of Titus, chapter 2, verse 11. Grace is a time period to get yourself right with the Most High. Grace is not a time for you to keep sinning. It's the book of Romans, chapter 6 and verse 1. Grace is a time period to get yourself right with the Most High. Meaning when you fall short, you pray to the Most High God, ask him for forgiveness, and guess what? Turn back to the law. This is the book of Romans, chapter 6 and verse 1. What shall we say then? Shall we continue in sin that grace may abound? So just because we have grace, does that mean that we keep sinning? No. God forbid. How shall we that are dead to sin live any longer then? Let me jump down. It's the book of Romans, chapter 6, verse 15. What then? Shall we sin because we are not under the law, but under grace? God forbid. So it's reaffirming that we cannot sin just because we have grace. We cannot. You also want to put that with Titus chapter 2, verse 11. Did you get that, brother Blacks? Keenan Macaleeve. Shalom, 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 family. Where can I find the Hebrew name of our Father and his Son? What do you mean, not? Explain. You're talking about Yahweh and Yahweh. You find it in the ancient Paleo Hebrew. So even when you look up certain Masoretic texts, I think if you look up, if I'm not mistaken, the Dead Sea Scrolls, even when you read in the book of Psalms, chapter 83, when it's going into Jehovah, that's translated to Yahweh. Is that what you want, Brother Keenan Macaleeve? So Matavi says, I have another question. After the heathen die, where would they go after we were saved? Remember, not all the nations are going to die, because we still have to have servants and handmaids in the kingdom. So not all the nations will die. The Most High God is going to destroy the powers that be. It's going to be a lot of them put to death, but not all of them will die. This is the book of Revelations, chapter 22. Book of Revelation. So Not all the nations will die. This is the book of Revelation, chapter 22 and verse 21. Salakia. Bear with me. Not all the nations will die. This is the book of Revelation, chapter 21 and verse 24, and it reads, and the nations of them which are saved. Saved for what? A lot of times Christians take these totally out of context. Saved for what? For captivity and to be tributaries unto the Israelites, meaning to bring us all their wealth and their taxes so we can stay a rich nation forever. It's the book of Revelation, chapter 21, verse 24, again from the top. And the nations of them which are saved shall walk in the light of it, and the kings of the earth do bring their glory and honor into it. And the gates of it shall not be shut at all by day, for there shall be no night. And they shall bring the glory and the honor of the nations into it. So remember, the nations will still be in the kingdom, but the Israelites, it'll be a hierarchy. The Israelites will be the top ruling race on the planet Earth, and all other nations will be below the Israelites. That's all that they're saying. So they will be there. That's why you also have Isaiah chapter 2, verse 2, Micah chapter 4, verse 2. You have Isaiah chapter 60. It's many precepts showing you that all the nations won't die. So yes, you'll still have nations around in different areas, especially going back over there towards the Middle East. It's going to keep nations alive. Yeah, kind of like Brother Don Israel said, you have to fast that liquor demon off, but by fasting and prayer. Great precept. Matthew chapter 17, verse 21. Bill Carmen says, knowing that liquor is destroying your eyes is not enough to run from it. That's a spirit. It's called spirits. Rebuke it, flee from it, and ask the Most High to give you strength and put it away. You know, and that's a great point that Brother Black Karma is saying. You know, it's nothing but a demon. Like Brother Don Israel said, we have to fast and pray these demons off. You know what I'm saying? Galatians chapter 6, verse 1, like we say, we have to restore one another in the spirit of meekness, considering ourselves that we may could be tempted as well. I'm going to tell you, a lot of times there's always a breakdown of certain things. You're not gathering amongst brothers and sisters. You're not reading enough. You're not meditating on the scriptures, not praying and fasting enough, and you're not applying the scriptures enough. It's always a breakdown of that. One of those things. Black Carmen said, Philippians 4:13, you can do all things through Christ that strengthens you. That's right, just his wisdom. Yeah, Zakan Matata, the dinosaurs. Says, no name. Yeah, it's been a bad one, Adawan. I have no discipline. Yeah, you got to pray for that, Doc. That's a spirit too, you know, that you lack discipline. You know, Matthew chapter 17, verse 21. Thanks everyone for your kind messages and love. That's what we're here for, you know, to help edify and exhort brothers, to show them that guess what, y'all can do better. I used to struggle with weed, selling drugs. You know what I'm saying? I used to struggle with these things, but applying what the Most High God has given us, that's what helps us overcome those things. You know, I asked Brother No Name, are you gathering with some brothers? Because I'm going to tell you, that's one of the biggest breakdowns when you're not gathering amongst brothers, like in the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 4, verse 9. You don't have another brother to help build you back up. You know what I'm saying? Brother Charlemagne said, before the truth, I ate all kind of abomination and dishonor my mother, talking crazy. All praise to the Most High, he didn't unalive me. Like many of us, for real. We got to be thankful that the Most High God took us up out of that wicked state that we were in, that low state that we was in, and gave us this truth, man. Like I said, Romans 6:1, sister, with all the prophecies going on, what are the most important things to focus on? What the most important things to focus on is your spirit, sis, that you are overcoming the things that you deal with. And you want to make sure that your spirit is lining up with the Bible, sis. You want to make sure that you are doing everything that you're supposed to do as either being a wife or a daughter of Zion, sis. You know what I'm saying? That's one of the main things. And that you are literally putting the work in this truth. This is the book of First Timothy. So this is something that we always tell sisters to kind of go over. Even to brother No Name. This is the book of Second Timothy, chapter 2. Because you have to flee youthful lust. All those things is a youthful lust. That's all that it is. Second Timothy. Then I'm gonna jump up. The book of Second Timothy, chapter 2 and verse 22. And it reads, flee also youthful lusts, but follow righteousness, faith, charity, peace with them that called on the Lord out of a pure heart. So you want to make sure that you flee those things, man. If those things are offending you, like Christ said, you have to cut it off, our cold turkey. You know, stop going to the liquor store. But first and foremost, man, you need to find you a group of brothers that you can get with. That's one of the main things. Now, going back to the question that sister asked. So we always tell sisters to make sure that they understand what is required of them by the Most High. This is the book of Second Timothy, chapter 2, verse 9. In like manner also that women adorn themselves in modest apparel, with shamefacedness and sobriety, not with braided hair or gold or pearls or costly array. Not saying you can't put on beautiful garments, but don't make it be the only thing that you are doing it for. You know, you don't want that to put you in a terrible mindset, you know, to be what materialistic. It says shamefacedness and sobriety, meaning you're not drinking to get drunk, you're staying away from drugs, you're staying away from doctrines that turn you away from the truth. Shamefacedness means you're not seeking out unwanted attention from other men. You know, you want to be modest, you want to be reserved, you want to show temperance and grace as a daughter of Sarah. Verse 10, but which becometh women professing godliness. You want to profess godliness in your conversations. You don't want to be known as that loud mouth black woman or that loud mouth Latino woman. You know, you want to be known as a daughter of Zion, you know, because it's very important for sisters to do what? To set the example. When we go out here and we look on TikTok, all we see is ratchetness on there. You have men that hate women, and you seeing them all day, all long, bashing men because they can't get whatever the hell they want out of a man. You don't want to be one of those sisters. You want to be one of these sisters that Timothy is explaining. Verse 10 again from the top. It says, but which becometh women professing godliness with good works. So if you're a part of a congregation, sis, you want to make sure that you are putting in the good works, helping sisters, like we say, with the cooking of the food, you know, setting up things around God's high holy days, you know, setting the example for the younger sisters and for the children, teaching them, guiding them. Verse 11. Now that's the one, verse 10. But which profess it, but becoming women professing godliness with good works. Now let me flip over to Titus chapter 2, verse 3. This is the book of Titus, chapter 2, verse 3. The aged women likewise, that they be in behavior as becometh holiness, not false accusers, not giving too much wines, teachers of good things. So women can teach good things. Women can teach, but the Bible is showing you who you can teach and what you can teach. You just can't teach whatever. It's literally going to define what and who you can teach. Verse 4, that they may teach the young women to be sober, to love their husbands, to love their children, to be discreet, chaste, keepers of home, good, obedient to their own husbands, that the word of God be not blasphemed. So the Bible is telling you to teach the younger women and the children. Teach the women what? To be sober, to love their husbands, because that is a teaching that needs to be had. You know, our sisters today, they do not know how to love their husbands according to the Bible. They do not know how to do that. They know how to do these things according to the world. They know how to love their husband according to when things get hard, then they out the door. They ready to divorce, they ready to leave. No, the Most High God said there is no such thing as divorce except for fornication. Remember, you're in that marriage to build a strong nation. How in the hell are we going to have a strong nation by brothers and sisters just quitting on one another because things ain't going their way? You know, I'm going to tell you, it's going to be a judgment for brothers and sisters that's doing that, man. You know, we mainly kind of get on the sisters because we see the statistics as the women leaving more times than none than the men. You know, but these are some of the things that you need to be going over, sis, so you can understand on what you need to do, you know, to focus on in these last days, sis. So Kamatai says, so are you going to serve us? So yes, they're going to serve us forever. And are they going to age and die, just repopulate? No. They're going to die and they're going to have kids. And guess what? Their kids is going to serve us. Their kids is going to serve us. This is the book of, let's go to the book of Leviticus, chapter 25. The book of Leviticus, chapter 25, verse 44. Both thy bondmaid and bondmaids which thou shalt have shall be of the heathen that are round about you. Of them shall ye buy bondmen and bondmaid. Verse 45, moreover, of the children of the strangers that do sojourn among you, of them shall ye buy, and of their families that are with you, which they shall begat in your land, and they shall be your possessions. So the other nations are going to be having kids in the kingdom. Verse 46, and ye shall take them as an inheritance for your children after you, to inherit them for a possession. They shall be your bondmen forever. And that's plain. They're going to be our bondmen and bondmaids forever in the kingdom. Let's get some more. Let's go to the book of Isaiah. This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 60 and verse 10. And it reads, the sons of strangers shall build up thy walls, and their kings shall minister unto thee. For in my wrath I smote thee, but in my favor I have mercy on thee. Therefore thy gates shall be open continually. They shall not be shut day nor night, that men may bring unto thee the forces of the Gentiles, and their kings may be brought. For nation and kingdom that would not serve thee shall perish. Yea, those nations shall be utterly wasted. So the nations that don't want to get down with the program, with God's program, they're going to be utterly wasted. This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 61 and verse 7. And it reads, for your shame ye shall have double, and for your confusion they shall rejoice in their portion. Therefore in their land they shall possess the double. Everlasting joy be unto them. Let me jump up. Verse 5, and strangers shall stand and feed your flocks, and the sons of the alien shall be your plowmen and your vine dressers. So they're going to be working in our plantation fields. Verse 6, but ye shall be named the priests of the Lord. Men shall call you the ministers of our God. Ye shall eat the riches of the Gentiles, and in their glory ye shall boast yourselves. So we're going to be talking that talk, man. We're going to be bragging. We're going to be boasting in that day when the Most High God put us back on top. So yes, they're going to be, and we just live forever, Khan. That's how it's going to be. Sister Antoinette said, blood level medication is not tested on blacks. It's only tested on Esau, fasting and prayer, eating fruits, veggies. That's right. Hips tremendous. That's right, sis. Black karma. And then you have no discipline because you keep declaring it. Proverbs 23 and 7, for as he thinketh in his heart, so is he. Eat and drink, said he to thee, but his heart is not with thee. That's a great precept. You know, Brothers and sisters have to learn these things, man. I just lost my train of thought. Proverbs chapter, the issues of life. Out of the mind are the issues of life. One of Captain Jeroboam's favorite precepts. So you want to make sure that you are having discipline over your thoughts as well and your mind, man. That's why Christ magnified the law and made it more honorable to be able to eventually discipline your thoughts. Brother Keenan McAleeve, it says, does the new covenant of law or liberty outweigh the law of Moses? No, they go hand in hand, because the thing is, the covenant of law of liberty. Liberty is just another word for grace, Keenan. Like how we just read in the scriptures in the book of Romans chapter 6, verse 1. Liberty and grace are synonymous with each other. Grace and liberty is not a justification for you not to keep the law. It is not. Let's read it again from the top. I'll put a link in the chat for you. Put a link in the chat for you, Brother Keenan. Click the link right quick, so we can kind of talk about grace, because I want to kind of get your stance on there. You can click the link, Brother Keenan. Like Brother Charlemagne said, I pray for order and discipline, and he's answering them. Once he heals these legs, I'm gonna tell you, that's right, Ock. Yeah, click the link, Ock, so we can kind of talk about it. Do you think that we don't have to keep the law? Let us know your stance on that. I just put a link in the chat, brother. Brother Keenan, what do you say, Mac 11? Sorry, I'm butchering the names, man. You could click the link if you want. Click the link, man. That 2 hours be going by fast, man. It does. I'm talking about that thing go by fast as hell. Remember, everybody that dies of Kamatah, like according to the book of Ecclesiastes, their spirit just returns back to the Most High. That's all that happens. So it's nothing that's going to be new or changed just because we're in the kingdom. Those things were still ordained by the Most High, and all things are full of labor. Meaning the Most High God has everything on a rotating cycle. Just like how we see all the rivers that flow from the mountains down into the rivers, they return and keep going again. We see the air, it goes around and it comes back around, or the wind, Salakia. We see the sun going down, coming back around. We see the moon going down, coming back around. All things are full of labor, even man's spirits. This is the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 12 and verse 7, and it reads, then shall the dust return to the earth as it was, and the spirit shall return unto God who gave it. So when they die, their spirit's just going to go up to the Father, and he's going to send it back down every third or fourth generation. So their spirits is on a cycle as well. Meaning the Israelites won't die, though. That's the difference. Let's go back to that Brother Keenan's question. He was asking, does the new covenant of the law of liberty outweigh the law of Moses? No, it doesn't. Those things are synonymous with each other. Remember, the law of liberty is just Christ dying for us to give us grace and mercy that we couldn't have for the law of Moses. There was certain laws during the time of Moses that if we committed, we had to die. But under the law of liberty, under the law of grace, we're able now to repent from those things. That doesn't mean that we don't have to turn back to the law. That doesn't mean that. This is the book. We're going to read it again. The book of Romans. chapter 6 and verse 1, and it reads, "What shall we say then? Shall we continue in sin that grace may abound?" So Paul is asking, just because we have grace, does that mean that we stop keeping the commandments? What does he say? God forbid. Paul is making it plain. Just because Christ came to die to give us grace does not negate us from still keeping the law. Now we're doing it more perfectly. That is the point. We're able to have grace and mercy on those things. Jumping down to verse 15 again. What then shall we sin? Sin is the breaking of God's laws. If brothers and sisters say we don't have to keep the law, then why in the book of Romans chapter 6 verse 23 it tells you that the wages of sin, meaning the payment for you breaking God's laws, is death? That makes absolutely no sense, showing you that we still have to keep the law. But now we're able to be forgiven for certain sins that we commit and don't turn back to them. This is the point. Romans chapter 6 verse 15. What then, shall we sin because we are not under the law but under grace? God forbid. We cannot keep sinning just because we have grace and because we have mercy. No, we don't. This is the book of Romans chapter 3 verse 31. Do we then make void the law through faith? So just because we have to have faith in Christ, does that mean that we still make void the law? No. We establish the law. You still have to establish the law. So just because we have liberty and grace does not mean that we still don't have to keep the law. Oh, Esther chapter 16, verse 24. So, but the law itself and the prophets and the rest of the books have no small difference when they are spoken in their own language. That's Sirach. Shalom, Yadon. Shalom, shalom. There go Brother Yaakov. Tomorrow only been on for 20 minutes. There he is. Okay, come, Brother King. It says, yes, I believe in the law. I was just wondering how our people couldn't keep the law of Moses to the foot. Because our people was wicked. That's all that it is. And they wanted to do whatever the hell they wanted to do. Just in a short answer. This is the book of Romans, chapter 10 and verse 3. And it reads, start at verse 2. For I bear them record that they have a zeal of God, but not according to knowledge. So our people we have a zeal of the Most High, but we don't want to worship him according to how he told us to. Verse 3. For they being ignorant of God's righteousness, going about to establish their own righteousness, have not submitted themselves unto the righteousness of God. And that's what we love to do as a nation of people. We love to establish our own righteousness. We love to do that as a nation of people. And that's what we see our people in the past constantly kept doing as a nation of people. We wanted to do what we wanted to do, you know. But come, Brother King, come. That's right, Brother Yaakov said, Sirach chapter 15, verse 20, he had commanded no man to do wickedly, neither had he given any man license to sin. So, you know, that's plain upon tables, man. So even touching on, like we say, who are the children of God? Children of God goes through what? Luke chapter what? Chapter 3, verses 38 on up. Or we could say the book of Luke chapter 3, verses 1 through verse 38. Those are the children of God. Everybody is not a child of the Most High. They are not, man. And I'm going to tell you, Christians are abusing Romans chapter 9 more and more and more, man, as the time gets closer and closer. They don't have an answer, so now they're just making up lies. This is the book of Romans chapter 9 verse 4, and it reads, who are Israelites, to whom pertain the adoption and the glory and the covenants? Because we hear Christians say on YouTube that this is not talking about physical Israelites. It's literally telling you Israelites. And when you asking spiritual Israelites, you're adding to the text. It does not say spiritual Israelites. That's why it says verse 3. For I wish that myself were cursed from Christ for my brethren, my kinsmen according to the flesh. Paul is literally saying he's literally talking to ethnic Israelites. Verse 4, who are Israelites, to whom pertaineth the adoption and the glory and the covenants and the giving of the law and the service of God and the promise, whose are the fathers, and as whom as concerning the flesh Christ came, who is over all, God bless forever. Amen. So we see that. This is where they get hung up, not as though the word of God had taken on effect. For they are not all Israel, which are of Israel. Christians say, oh, that's spiritual Israel right there. No, this is talking about just because you're an Israelite don't mean that you're going to automatically get the kingdom. You have to be an Israelite that has faith in Christ and that are keeping the commandments. This is all that this is saying. You could tell it's not talking about no other nation of people. It says not all Israel, they are of Israel. It's still the same context. Verse 7. Neither because they are the seed of Abraham are they all children. Now it's breaking it down in more detail. It says, but in Isaac shall thy seed be called. Because what? Abraham had many sons, but God only chose one son to himself. It's many sons that Abraham had. Remember, and this cuts that doctrine, Abraham of all nations. No, Abraham only had certain sons. All nations did not come from Abraham. So we had Keturah's 8 sons that come from, and we have the Ishmaelites that come from Abraham. I mean, it's making it plain. Neither because they are the seed of Abraham are they all children, but in Isaac shall thy seed be called. So the seed passed down from Abraham to Isaac. That is, they which are the children of the flesh, these are not the children of God. The children of the flesh or any child that God did not choose. Those are the children of the flesh. He's making it plain. So he had Ishmael, Isaac. Ishmael was a child of the flesh. Isaac was the chosen. He had Jacob. He had Esau. Esau was a child of the flesh. The lineage passed to Jacob. So it's showing you who the children of God are. Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, the 12 tribes of Israel. Those are the sons of the living God. Then you also have that chosen lineage from Adam. That's why we have what? The book of Luke, chapter 3, verse 38. Let me keep reading this. Neither because they are the seed of Abraham are they all children, but in Isaac shall thy seed be called. That is, they which are the children of the flesh, these are not the children of God, but the children of the promise are counted for the seed. Who are the children of the promise? Verse 4. Who are Israelites, to whom pertain the adoption and the glory and the covenants and the giving of the law and the service of God and the promises. This is plain. Christians, we're sick and tired of Christians butchering this thing, man. They totally butcher Romans 9. And there's no need for that, man. There's no need at all for you to butcher. All you have to do is just read it. You just read the scriptures. The scriptures explain itself in the book of Romans chapter 9. It's self-explanatory, man. It's not something deep when you read these things, man. This is the book of Luke chapter 3. These are all the sons of the living God, man. It's the book of Luke chapter 3 and verse 38. We're going to go up. Which was the son of Enos, which was the son of Seth, which was the son of Adam. So you see, Adam was a chosen son of the Most High. You have Seth, you have Enos. Then you have what? Cainan, you have Mahalalel, you have Jared, you have Enoch, you have Methuselah, you have Lamech, you have Noah, you have Shem. Remember, Shem had what? Noah had 3 sons. Even in her, it's only listing Shem as God's chosen son. Making it plain. He had Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Why is it only naming Shem if everybody's a child of God? This is made plain. Brothers have to remember these things too. You have Shem or Faxdad, Cainan, Eber, Phalek, Thyra, Nachor, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Pharez, Isham, Abinadab, Nahshon, Boaz, Jesse, Obed, David, Nathan, Matthias, Ma'ilah, Maiah, Eliakim, Salakiah, Judah, Simeon, Mahat, Levi, Eleazar, Joseph, Elmodam, Kasam. Remember, these is written in the Greek, so it's a different type of translation from the Hebrew. Melchi, Salathiel, Zerubbabel. You have Johanan, you have Joseph, you have Simei, you have Matthias, you have Nage, you have Nahum, Mattathias, Joseph, Janai, Melchi, Mattathias, Heli, and then Joseph. We literally is showing you who the sons of God. The book of Luke gives a more in-depth detail from Adam all the way to Christ, showing you who's the chosen people of the Most High. That's all that this is. Even like Brother Abraham put up in there, Galatians chapter 4, verse 23. But he who was of the bondwoman was born after the flesh, but he of the free woman was by promise. Great precept. Brother Yaakov, Psalms 47 and 4. He shall choose our inheritance for us, the excellency of Jacob, whom he loved. And this is plain, man. So everybody is not a child of the Most High God, man. You just don't see that in the book, chapter, verse. You don't see that, man. Y'all know how we do, man. We got some questions real quick. What are Moses' sons' names who he had with Zipporah? What are the name of Moses' sons that he had with Zipporah? Give me their names, book, chapter, verse. You already know how we do, answering the questions to see where brothers' understanding of the scriptures are. Brothers and sisters. What were the names of Moses' son? Book, chapter, verse, who he had with Zipporah. Let me see who quick on the trigger on that. What were the names of Moses' sons that he had with Zipporah? And this should be easy for y'all. Remember, if brothers and sisters don't know the name off the bat, you still got a reference. The reference is Moses and his wife Zipporah. So you know Moses during the time of what? Of the Exodus. So you kind of skim through those things. Skim through those books real quick like. I literally just gave y'all a major hint. What are the names of Moses' sons whom he had with Zipporah? See, brothers and sisters slow on the trigger today, man. Where Drew's at? Brothers and sisters at? I know I ain't missed no questions, did I? Hey, what's up with it, bro? Shit, nothing in class right quick. Already. I've been saying shit. You have some questions, click on her and ask them.
You on better ask YouTube?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. Brother Azariah got it. Exodus chapter 18, verse 3 through 4. Gershom and Eleazar. Come. Remember, need the name. I knew what you meant, Brother Azariah. You good to abbreviate it. Remember, brothers and sisters can put, I know you got some brothers and sisters that are all driving. So, on that. Easy, man. Let's see if there's some hard ones on here. Okay. What wilderness were the Israelites in before they came to the wilderness of Paran, Salakia? What wilderness were the Israelites in before they came to the wilderness of Paran, Salakia? Butchered the name like a mug. Don't be cheating. Don't be Googling. Don't be asking AI either. All you have to do is go and look in your scriptures, seeing where they was traveling from wilderness to wilderness. What wilderness were the Israelites in before they came to the real wilderness of Paran? Let me see who's going to be quick on the Swizzord. Let me see who's going to be quick on the Swizzord. Come, Brother Yaakov on it. Wilderness of Sinai, Brother Timothy B. Got Numbers chapter 10, verse 12. And the children of Israel took their journeyings out of the wilderness of Sinai, and the cloud rested in the wilderness of Paran. Come. Remember, because Bruce have to know this history. You kind of want to know these things. You kind of want to build up God, I know Brother Moses behind on it. Oh, you talking about Exodus chapter 19. Let's see. Con. Another great precept. Exodus chapter 19, verse 2. So Bruce have to kind of be up on these things as well. Trying to pull up a map so brothers and sisters could see that thing. But it's literally showing you the journey that we took up out of there. Showing where we crossed the Red Sea. And the Most High God had us wandering in that wilderness. I don't know if brothers and sisters could see that thing. I can barely see it. So we see we went out from Goshen, went down to Pithom, we're down to Sukkot. It literally has it numbered too. I like this map, showing you each place that we went to: Marah, Elim, Wilderness of Zin, Rephidim. We have Mount Sinai. We have the Wilderness of Sinai, all up and down that coast of the Sinai Peninsula. You know, it's a great map going into the wilderness of Paran, going back around up through Edom, up through Moab. You know, we went some ways to Kadesh Barnea, wilderness of Zin. So shoot, we were everywhere. On the Most High God. Oh, Now, another question real quick. Oh, this is a good question. Where were the disciples when Christ showed himself to them for the third time after he was risen from the dead? Where were the disciples when Christ showed himself to them for the third time after he was risen from the dead? Where were the disciples after Christ was risen from the dead? That's a good one. You said what? Where were the disciples when Christ was risen that third time? After the what'd you say? Let me see. Something like no other. He's talking about they were with Mary. What's the precept, Ak? You know, we need the Bible verses, Ak. We need Bible verses. Come on, brother Jacob, on to John chapter 21, verse 1. They was at the Sea of Tiberias. The Sea of Tiberias. Black Carmen says, for real, brothers and sisters need to study to show themselves approved. Come. That's what these things are for. And like we say, even for myself, because there's always things and more details that I can know as well. So these things ain't just for y'all. These things are for us as well. Kind of the Sea of Tiberias. That was kind of a hard one. That, brothers and sisters, we all have to get our reading up. And it is what it is. Oh, this is a good one too. Shalom, Ephraim Ban Yasharala. Shalom, Mark. Shalom, Mark. You have a blessed day as well too, Mark. How many men of Canaan did Judah and Simeon kill? This dang handwriting. I see that. It's the word before that. Let me see. How many men did Judah and Simeon kill after Joshua of the Canaanites of Canaan? In Bezik. Once again, it says, how many men of Canaan did Judah and Simeon kill in Bezik after Joshua died? How many did they kill? So it's giving y'all a reference point, showing you when Joshua died. So brothers have to know those books to look in real quick. I'm going to tell you, if brothers and sisters don't know certain overall history, you have to be able to get that understanding, man. Because a lot of detail understanding will escape you if you don't know the details. It really will. How many men did they kill? They killed 10,000. Judges chapter 1, verse 4. Brother Abraham got that mug. Azariah, brother Azariah behind Abraham. 10,000. Judges chapter 1, verse 4. Let me see. Nah, the rest of them kind of easy. Shalom, brother Demir's Rashawn. Shalom, Mark. Any other questions, brothers and sisters, before we get up out of here? Any other questions? I got a question for brothers and sisters real quick. Who are the sons of God in the book of Genesis chapter 6, verse 1? Who are the sons of God in the book of Genesis chapter 6, verse 1? Does any brother or sister know? Who are they? Who are the sons of God in the book of Genesis chapter 6, verse 1? No, not the angels, brother Yaakov, because that would mean that the angels were sleeping with men. Come, brother Abraham was right. That chosen seed that was from Abraham, not the angels. Because remember, if it was the angels, then that must mean that angels had sex with men. That's why I literally wanted to answer that. But remember, you have to be specific in that, brother Demiris Rashawn. You have to say the chosen lineage of Adam's descendants. Him, Hosea chapter 1, verse 10, the sons of the living God. But even in that, from the time of Genesis, remember, brother Vic, even what we saying, Adam's chosen lineage, because remember, Adam had many children. All of them wasn't chosen. He had who? He had Cain, but guess what? Cain wasn't chosen. You know, let's read that right quick. That's why I kind of wanted to touch on this. This is the book of Genesis, chapter 6, verse 1. And it reads, and it came to pass when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them, meaning the descendants of Adam, they were having children. Verse 2, that the sons of God saw the daughters of men. So who are the sons of God? That chosen lineage that we read from the book of Luke, chapter 3, verse 38. Is literally telling you who the sons of God is. Showing you that our people, even during that time, was doing what? Interracial marriage mixing. It's literally telling you Adam, Seth, Enos, Enoch, Mahaliel, Methuselah, Lamech, Noah, Shem, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. It's literally telling you that's who that chosen seed is. Bruce should have that precept by that, man. You should have the book of Luke, chapter 3, verse 38, next to the book of Genesis, chapter 6, verse 2, showing you who the sons of God are. To where you don't have to guess. All you have to do is just go to another precept and it explains who the sons of God are. The book of Genesis, chapter 6, verse 2, that the sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were fair, and they took them wives of all which they chose. Meaning what? The chosen lineage was mixing with the other nations. That's all that this means. Doesn't mean that they was banging angels. Yeah, that's Seth's descendants, but we want to make sure that you are clear in that chosen lineage that comes through Adam. Want to make sure that we covering every stone, meaning they were interracial mixing. That's all that this is going into. Verse 3, and the Lord said, my spirit shall not always strive with man, for he also is flesh, yet his days shall be 120 years. So we see where the Most High God judged man. He didn't never judge the angels. You have to be able to pick up on that verbiage. We have to be able to learn to pick up on it. It says, and my spirit shall not always strive with man. If the angels was doing something wrong, why didn't it say angels? My spirit shall not always strive with angels. Because the angels are not made for that. They're not made like that. It says, can northern kingdom be referred to as Jews? I heard some Judite brothers refer to us all as the real Jews, meaning southern and northern kingdom, but I thought others. As a whole, yes, because remember, the southern tribe does just consist of Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. You know what I'm saying? So, yes, but in some aspects, sometimes they can be used interchangeably. But for the most part, yeah, the Jews were referred to as southern tribe. Now I got another question. Let's go to the book of Job. Now, who were these sons of God? This is the book of Job, chapter 1, verse 6, and it reads, now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan came also among them. Who are the sons of God in the book of Job, chapter 1, verse 6 now? Who are the sons of God in the book of Job, chapter 1, verse 6? Now, Khan, Azariah, brother Azariah, are on point. Those are the angels. How do we know? Because no man can see God and live, meaning they were having councils. Khan, like no other. Just angels. Remember, both angels come. What you mean, brother Ephraim Bun Yasharala? What you mean by fallen? What you mean, fallen angels? Remember, no angels are fallen from the Most High. No angels. If angels fall from the Most High, that would mean that the Most High God is not all powerful, and that would mean that the Most High God does not have the third heaven in order. And we know that that's not the case. Angels don't do whatever they want to. They get their orders and commands from the Most High. Explain that, brother Ephraim Bon Yasharala. What you mean now? Because remember, even the left-handed angels are up there with the Most High. When you read the book of 1 Kings, let's get there right quick. Even the evil angels are up there with the Most High. They don't do what they want to. They are in fear of the Most High. So even they don't do whatever the hell they want to. The book of 1 Kings, chapter 22. This is the book of 1 Kings, chapter 22 and verse 19, and it reads, "And he said, Hear thou therefore the word of the Lord. I saw the Lord sitting on his throne, and all the host of heaven standing by him on his right hand and on his left." So in the third heavens, the Most High God has a whole host of angels. You have the good angels on the right-hand side. You have the bad angels on the left-hand side. They are all up there with the Most High. And they counsel amongst each other on how the Most High God does what? Bring judgment on the earth. So even the wicked angels, they are not fallen from the Most High. They are still afraid as hell of the Most High. They're not going to do anything outside of what God commands them. Let's keep reading. Verse 20, "And the Lord said, Who shall persuade Ahab that he may go up and fall at Ramoth Gilead?" So they're having a council about King Ahab on how God is going to kill him. Yeah, we'll talk about that. When it talks about the 2/3 of the stars that fell to heaven, that's talking about Israelites. Remember, it's two types of angels and it's two types of sons of God. One angel can be celestial beings, but the other angel is terrestrial beings. Meaning, it cannot by default be celestial beings because they are not made the way men are made. The celestial angels, they do the will of the Father without question. They're not programmed like how we are. Verse 20, "And the Lord said, Who shall persuade Ahab that he may go up and fall at Ramoth Gilead? And one said on this matter, and another said on that matter." So it's coming up with plans. An angel come, "Hey, well, I'm going to have somebody throw a spear at him." Another angel, "Well, I'll have somebody shoot a bow and arrow at him." This is what they talking about. Verse 21, "And there came forth a spirit and stood before the Lord and said, I will persuade him." So out of that group of angels, one came forth with a good plan. Verse 22, "And the Lord said unto him, Wherewith?" Meaning God asked his angel, "How you going to do it?" He said, "I will go forth and be a lying spirit in the mouth of all his prophets." So remember, this was a what? A evil angel. How do we know that? Because he was going to be a lying spirit. Righteous angels don't lie. Easy way of telling the difference between those things. Easy way. Brother Ephraim said, "Come, I thought when the scripture referenced 2/3 of the stars fell to heaven, they are considered the fallen." No. When you read that in the book of Revelations chapter 12, that's talking about Israelites that fell from their first estate. Even when you read in the book of Jude, we were those angels that fell from our first estate. Because what was our first estate? Kingdom, keeping God's laws. That was how we were supposed to live. Come, Brother Demir's return put a great precept. 1 Corinthians 15 and 40. There are also celestial bodies and bodies terrestrial. But the glory of the celestial is one, and the glory of the terrestrial is another. Meaning they don't do whatever they want to do. They don't do those things. But I had to know that because remember, that's a doctrine that's always going to be put out. Fallen angels, Nephilim, they came and had sex with men and women. Now, that's why we see all these giants on the earth. That is not what that's going into. You don't even see or read the word Nephilim in the Bible. I don't know where people get that from. You don't even see that word Nephilim in the Bible. When it talks about tall men, it's just making reference. Giants is just making reference to tall men. Come, brother Ephraim Ban Yasharal. Revelation chapter 12 just goes into the downfall of Yasharal. Come up. And how the Most High God was basically going to restore us and send Christ and the angels to fight on our behalf. Shalom, Brother Ray, Battle Axis, Minnesota. Shalom, Mark, in the building. Yeah, come. That's a name Esau did, going to the book of Jubilees and the book of Enoch. Remember, those books are made to take us away from the understanding of the scriptures. Those things are not in the scriptures, man. So, yeah, when we see those things, yeah, it's just talking about Israelites falling from rulership, basically. It's the book of Revelations, chapter 12 and verse. What did you say? Yes, the book of Revelation, chapter 12, verse 4, and it reads, "And his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven, and they cast them to the earth." Meaning what? The stars make representation of the Israelites. We're considered the stars. Meaning what? He took Judah, Benjamin, and Levi into captivity, a third of the 12 tribes of Israel. Meaning cast them to the earth, meaning put us on a low level. Because the Most High God uses heaven and earth in certain contexts to describe rulership. Meaning heaven is a high level, earth is a lower level. Just like it is with the Most High. The Most High God dwells in the heavens, meaning he dwells on a higher level than we do. And it's the same symbolic phraseology. Verse 4, "And his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven, and did cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born." Making reference to Christ when Herod was trying to kill the child. Showing you that, guess what? Herod, which is an Edomite, which is, guess what? The dragon. Showing you that, guess what? Esau is the devil. I mean, it's making it plain. Esau is that dragon. There's no other way that they can wiggle out of these things in these last days. Huh? Like no other says, you truly believe if the moment came where they said to curse the Most High, or would behead you, would you stand firm for the Most High? You literally believe I would. Yep, some gonna fold out. Some will fold, but guess what? You have to do that out. That's why you have to take the understanding of the scriptures, meaning what? The dead in Christ shall rise first. I'm going to tell you, that will probably automatically guarantee your place in the kingdom. You know what I'm saying? Because it literally tells us that in the book of 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verse 16, the dead in Christ rise first. Meaning if you died having faith in Christ and keeping God's commandments, you will be the first one to be taken up before the people that are not dead. So con on that, up. So you be having to pray to the Most High on those things. But with that, brothers and sisters, don't have any other questions. Remember, I know we had new moon pass, so we're starting over the cycle. Remember, we're coming up on, days of atonement later on, months from now. Those are things that brothers and sisters have to be prepared for. Day of Atonement, You have the Feast of Tabernacles. You have the memorial blowing of trumpets. First Thessalonians chapter 4, verse 16. Come, another great precept, Brother Ephraim Bon Yasserallah. Isaiah 47, verse 1. Come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. Sit on the ground. There is no throne, or daughter of the Chaldeans. That's right, because Esau is on a high level right now. This is their heaven. So the Most High God, when he sends Christ back, is going to put them on a low level in the dust of the earth. Not literally, but symbolically, meaning take their rulership and put them on a low level. Yeah, First Thessalonians chapter 4, verse 17. Yeah, that precept is the book of Sirach chapter 42, Salaki 44 and verse 21. In the book of Sirach, referencing Israel as the stars. But with that, we always tell brothers and sisters to keep the law, statutes, and commandments. I pray that brothers and sisters was edified. I know we had a lot of questions. All praise to the Most High, because like we say, not only do y'all help brothers and sisters in the chat, but iron sharpens iron. It's helping us too to stay sharp on certain topics. So we love doing it. That's why we constantly have these things on a weekly basis. And that's what the Most High God tells us to study for. Yes, Sirach chapter 44 and verse 21. Thanks, But we always tell brothers and sisters to keep the law, statutes, and commandments. So, brothers and sisters, y'all put a law up in the chat so we can bring out. Put a law in the chat. Let's see what brothers and sisters have. Put a law in the chat. Yeah, Khan, that's for that revelation, showing you that the Israelites were those stars. Brother Yaakov got Deuteronomy chapter 11, verse 1. Therefore, thou shalt love the Lord thy God and keep his charge and his statutes and his judgments and his commandments always. Great, great law. And I'm going to tell you, that's making it plain. That's literally a law for us to keep God's commandments always. Like no other. Proverbs 4:2. For I give you good doctrine, forsake ye not my law. I'm going to tell you, you have to just look at Christians. If the Israelites kept going into captivity for breaking God's laws, then the only thing that could kind of turn their captivity is if we keep the law. Like that is crazy, man. You mean to tell me Christ died on the cross for us to keep sinning? Abraham, neither is there any salvation in any, for there is none other name under heaven given among men whereby we must be saved. Acts 4 and 12. Brothers and gave great laws in the chat. Pray, brothers and sisters, stay in the spirit, man. Stay in the word. Brothers and sisters need any counsel or reach out to leadership. Brothers are here for brothers and sisters. Brother Ephraim put in there Deuteronomy chapter 12, verse 21. Another great law. Yeah, Khan, another great point. But with that, we give all honor and praises to Yahweh and to his son Yahweh Shah. So Kwam Yasharallah Shalom Ox and Aki.